Chapter 1. Playing the good Omega. I sprawled across the worn leather chair in Luke's piercing shop, legs kicked up on the counter, scrolling through my phone. The place smelled faintly of antiseptic and metal, but I barely noticed, too busy plotting my escape from the good Omega act I'd been perfecting for months. Luke, my oldest friend and resident troublemaker, leaned over the counter, his tattooed arms crossed, grinning like he knew I was up to no good. "Caleb, you sure about this tongue stud?" he asked, holding up a gleaming silver barbell. "Your uptight alpha husband's gonna lose it if he finds out. Jayden's not exactly the body mod type." I snorted, tossing my phone onto the counter. "Jayden? Notice me? That'd be a miracle. The guy's got one expression, stone cold CEO, and I'm pretty sure he'd rather file taxes than look at me twice." Luke raised an eyebrow, twirling the piercing needle between his fingers. "Bold words for someone who's been playing house with him for, 6 months? You're still married, dude." "Barely?" I shot back, swinging my legs down and sitting up. "I only signed up for this to save my family's sinking ship. Dad's company was circling the drain, and Jayden's loaded family was the lifeboat. But now, business is picking up, and I'm done pretending to be his perfect little Omega. Time to let the real Caleb out to play." Luke chuckled, shaking his head. "Real Caleb, huh? The one who used to sneak out to race cars and get into bar fights? That guy's been on lockdown since you dyed your hair back to black and ditched the leather jackets." "Exactly," I said, smirking. "Which is why I'm starting small. Tongue stud today, maybe a new tattoo tomorrow. Jayden won't care, he barely notices when I'm in the room. Watch this." I stuck out my tongue, showing off the tiny, secret tattoo I'd gotten last week. A stylized flame, my little rebellion. "See? He hasn't clocked this, and he won't clock the stud either. I'm a master of disguise." Luke burst out laughing. "Master of disguise? You're about as subtle as a neon sign. But fine, right side or left?" "Right?" I said, leaning back in the chair, heart racing with the thrill of defiance. "Let's make it quick. I've got plans to hit the bar with you tonight, and I'm not letting Jayden's icy vibes ruin my fun." Luke got to work, the needle's hum filling the air. I winced as the piercing went through, but the sting felt like freedom. For months, I'd been the model Omega, polite, poised, the picture of submission, to keep Jayden's family happy and our marriage deal intact. But Jayden? He was a fortress of self-control. No matter how much I flirted, teased, or even climbed into his lap in nothing but a towel, he'd just raise an eyebrow and go back to his emails. The man was a walking glacier, and I was done trying to melt him. "There," Luke said, stepping back to admire his work. "You're officially a badass again. Now, about that bar, don't go too wild. Jayden might be oblivious, but he's not stupid." "He's too busy being a monk to care," I said, checking my reflection in the mirror. The stud glinted under the fluorescent lights, a perfect secret. "I'm gonna have fun tonight, then figure out how to drop the divorce bomb. No more playing nice for Mr. Iceberg." Luke smirked, tossing me a lollipop from the counter. "You say that now, but I bet you'll chicken out when you see those cheekbones up close." "Shut up," I grumbled, popping the lollipop in my mouth. The sugar dulled the sting in my tongue, but nothing could dull the itch to break free. My dad, an alpha with more bravado than brains, had nearly tanked our family's logistics company with his reckless deals. Mom, the Omega who'd once kept him in check, had vanished years ago to find herself, leaving me to clean up the mess. Marrying Jayden, the heir to a corporate empire, was my desperate play to save us. His dad adored me, called me the perfect Omega match, but Jayden? He was all business, no pleasure. I thought I could win him over, maybe even fall for him, but his cold shoulder had me dreaming of freedom instead. Luke and I hit the bar that night, a dimly lit spot pulsing with music and the scent of whiskey. I was 3 drinks in, sprawled on a velvet couch, when Luke suddenly froze, his eyes widening. Caleb? Don't look now, but..." "What?" I slurred, waving my glass. "Another hot alpha? Tell him I'm married but negotiable." Luke's grin turned wicked. "No, dude, it's Jayden." I laughed, loud and sloppy. "Nice try, Luke. You pulled that one at the shop. Jayden in a bar? He'd rather meditate in a monastery than..." "Oh shit." My words died as a familiar cologne hit me, crisp and expensive, like cedar and steel. I turned, and there he was, Jayden, all 6'3" of him, in a tailored suit that hugged his stupidly perfect frame. His dark eyes locked onto mine, unreadable as ever. Caleb, he said, voice low and smooth, cutting through the bar's noise like a knife. Having fun. I choked on my drink, heart pounding. Jayden, fancy seeing you here. I was just networking. For the family. You know me, super responsible Omega. Luke snorted into his beer, and I shot him a glare. Jayden's gaze flicked to Luke, then back to me, his jaw tightening just enough to notice. Networking, he repeated, tone flat. With a tongue stud? My stomach dropped. How the hell did he? I clamped my mouth shut, the lollipop stick poking out awkwardly. Luke, the traitor, was shaking with silent laughter. Oh man, he muttered. This is gonna be good. Jayden stepped closer, looming over me, his scent overwhelming. Get up, he said, not a request. We're leaving. I need you to meet someone. I blinked, brain scrambling. Meet someone? Now? It's like midnight. Important friend. Back from abroad. You're my husband, Caleb. Act like it. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it like he was daring me to push back. I stood, wobbling slightly, and tossed Luke a mock salute. Catch you later, traitor. Don't wait up. Luke raised his glass, grinning. Try not to get grounded, kid. As I followed Jayden out, my tongue stud clicked against my teeth. A tiny rebellion I was sure he'd never notice. But the way his eyes lingered on my mouth made my pulse race. Maybe I'd underestimated him. Maybe this was going to be harder than I thought. Chapter 2, Old Flames and New Suspicions. I trailed Jayden into the VIP section of the bar, my head still buzzing from the whiskey and the fact that he'd actually shown up. The private room was all sleek leather and low lighting, packed with suits who screamed money and power. Jayden's world, not mine. I tugged at my shirt, suddenly hyper-aware of the tongue stud clicking against my teeth. He didn't see it, I told myself. No way. But his sharp glance back at me made my stomach flip. Keep up, Caleb, Jayden said, his voice cool as he navigated the crowd. And try not to trip over your own ego. I rolled my eyes, muttering, says the guy who walks like he's auditioning for a cologne ad. He didn't hear or didn't care, which was fine by me. I was here to play the dutiful Omega for one night, then back to my divorce plans. Easy. We reached a corner booth where a guy stood to greet us, all easy charm and tousled hair. My heart stopped. David, my old racing buddy from my study abroad days, back when I was more leather jackets than buttoned-up Omega. His grin widened as he spotted me, and I knew I was screwed. Caleb? Holy shit. Look at you, David said, clapping me on the shoulder. What happened to the guy who used to burn rubber on the track? You're all domesticated now. I forced a laugh, my tongue stud suddenly feeling like a neon sign. David, hey, long time. I just play with toy cars now. You know, the plastic kind. Vroom vroom. I mimed steering a tiny car, praying he'd take the hint and shut up. Jayden's eyes narrowed, flicking between us. You two know each other? My throat went dry. Barely, I said too fast. Met at a party overseas. Shared some nachos. Right, David? David frowned, clearly confused, but nodded. Sure, nachos. And some epic nights at the racetrack, right? You were a beast behind the wheel, Caleb. I wanted to strangle him. Shut up, you idiot. I grabbed meow asterisk at a high-pitched laugh, leaning into Jayden's arm to block his view. Toy cars, man. I told you just toys. Like, Transformers, right? I glared at David, mouthing shut up behind Jayden's back. David coughed, catching on. Oh, right. Transformers. Totally. He took a swig of his drink, looking like he was trying not to laugh. Jayden's expression didn't budge, but his silence was deafening. Interesting, he said, his voice low and unreadable. Toy cars. I gulped, my tongue stud clicking nervously. Yup, just a phase. Anyway, great seeing you, David. Gotta mingle. I tried to steer Jayden away, but he didn't move, his gaze pinning me like a bug. Stay, he said, not a request. David's the guest of honor tonight. He's back from Europe, racing cars. Real ones. My stomach twisted. Of course David had to be a pro racer now. I plastered on a grin. That's awesome, man. Congrats. I'm super into board games now. Less horsepower, more strategy. David raised an eyebrow but let it slide, launching into a story about his latest race. I nodded along, barely listening, my mind racing. Jayden's hand rested on the back of my chair, close enough to make my skin prickle. Did he know? Was he testing me? I sipped my drink, trying to act normal, but the tongue stud felt like a ticking time bomb. The night dragged on, and I was halfway through my fourth drink when my chest started throbbing. The piercing was fresh, and the alcohol wasn't helping. I shifted in my seat, wincing, and Jayden's eyes snapped to me. "You okay?" he asked, his tone sharp. "Fine," I said, too loud, clapping a hand over my chest. "Just heartburn. Spicy wings." His brow furrowed, and for a second, I thought he was going to call my bluff. But David interrupted, pulling Jayden into a conversation about some car engine, and I exhaled in relief. Close call. By the time we left, my buzz was gone, replaced by a dull ache in my chest and a growing sense of dread. Jayden didn't say a word in the car, his jaw tight as he drove us home. I kept my mouth shut, the tongue stud a guilty secret. When we got to the apartment, I bolted for the bathroom, claiming I needed a shower. The truth? I couldn't get my shirt off without crying from the pain. I stood under the hot water, gingerly touching the piercing. It was red and angry, and I cursed myself for not listening to Luke's warnings about aftercare. Wrapping a towel around my waist, I slipped into a loose robe, hoping to sneak past Jayden to bed. No such luck. He was on the balcony, a cigarette glowing in the dark, his silhouette all sharp angles and quiet menace. "Jesus, Jayden, you trying to be a ninja?" I said, clutching my robe as I stepped outside. "You scared the crap out of me." He turned, his eyes raking over me, lingering on the way I was hunched over. "Why were you standing like that? You hurt." "Nope," I said, straightening up and immediately regretting it. Pain shot through my chest, and I bit my lip to keep from wincing. "Just chilly. You should quit smoking, you know. Bad for you." He exhaled a plume of smoke, his expression unreadable. "You're one to talk about bad habits, Caleb." My heart stuttered. "What's that supposed to mean?" He stepped closer, his scent wrapping around me like a trap. "You've been different lately, bolder. Care to explain?" I laughed, high and nervous. "Me? I'm an open book, just your average Omega, living the dream." I tried to sidestep him, but he blocked my path, his eyes boring into mine. "An open book," he repeated, his voice low, with a few pages missing. I froze, my tongue stud clicking against my teeth. He couldn't know. Could he? "I'm tired," I said, ducking past him. "Gonna crash. Night, Jayden." I felt his gaze on my back as I fled to the bedroom, my heart pounding. This was bad. Really bad. If Jayden was onto me, my whole rebellion, tongue stud, tattoo, divorce plans, could come crashing down. And the worst part? A tiny, stupid part of me wanted him to care enough to stop me. Chapter 3. Pushing buttons and breaking ice. I woke up to a throbbing chest and a head full of regrets. The tongue stud was a bad idea, and last night's close call with Jayden had me on edge. Sprawled across our two-big bed, I glared at the ceiling, the faint ache reminding me of my rebellion's cost. Jayden was already gone, probably off to conquer the corporate world before breakfast, but his cologne lingered, mocking me. I groaned, rolling over to check my phone. A text from Luke. "You survived the iceberg? Or did he freeze you out?" "Asshole?" I muttered, tossing the phone aside. I wasn't scared of Jayden. I was just strategically avoiding him. Yeah, that was it. I dragged myself out of bed, wincing as my shirt brushed against the piercing. No way could I keep this up forever. Time to crank the rebellion to 11 and see how much Jayden could ignore. By evening, I was ready to test him. He was on the balcony again, leaning against the railing, cigarette in hand, looking like a brooding movie villain. I sauntered out, snatching the cigarette from his fingers and taking a dramatic drag. Big mistake. The smoke hit like a punch, menthol and something sharp burning my throat. I coughed, doubling over, eyes watering. "What the hell is this, Jayden?" Cough syrup and regret. I wheezed, shoving the cigarette back at him. He raised an eyebrow, catching it without breaking eye contact. "You done playing tough, Caleb?" "Playing?" I straightened up, ignoring the sting in my chest. "I'm not the one pretending to be a robot. You're out here smoking like some grumpy grandpa, while I'm just trying to live a little. Ever heard of fun?" His jaw tightened, but he didn't bite. "Fun doesn't usually involve choking on my cigarette." I grinned, stepping closer, close enough to feel the heat off him. "Maybe I'm just trying to get your attention, you know, since you barely notice I exist." I leaned in, letting my robe slip open just enough to show the edge of the piercing's redness. His eyes flicked down, then back up, and for a second, I thought I'd cracked him. "You're not a kid, Caleb," he said, voice low. "Stop acting like one." "Oh, come on," I snapped, my temper flaring. "You're not my dad, Jayden. You're barely my husband. All you do is work and glare. I'm not your employee. I'm supposed to be your Omega, remember?" He stubbed out the cigarette, his movements sharp. "And you're supposed to be my partner, not sneaking around getting piercings and lying about toy cars." My heart skipped. He knew? No, he was fishing. I crossed my arms, wincing as the motion tugged at the piercing. "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm an angel, practically glowing." His lips twitched, almost a smile, but it vanished fast. "Angels don't wince every time they move. What's wrong with you?" "Nothing," I said, too quick. "Just pulled a muscle. From, yoga. Super intense." "Yoga," he repeated, deadpan. "Right?" I turned to flee, but the pain hit hard, and I stumbled, grabbing the railing. Jayden was there in a second, his hand on my arm, steady but firm. "Caleb, what's going on? You're hurt." "I'm fine," I lied, shaking him off. "Stop treating me like I'm fragile. I'm not your kid brother." "Then stop acting like you need a babysitter," he shot back, his voice sharper than I'd ever heard. "You're reckless, Caleb, and it's not just about you anymore." I froze, stung. "What's that supposed to mean? You don't get to lecture me when you barely acknowledge I'm here. You want a perfect Omega? Go find one." I stormed inside, heart pounding, the fight leaving me shaky. I didn't know why I was so mad. Maybe because he was right, or maybe because I wanted him to care enough to fight back. But Jayden just stood there, silent, as I slammed the bedroom door. Sleep didn't come easy. Around 2 a.m., the piercing's ache turned brutal, like someone was yanking it with pliers. I bolted upright, gasping, and fumbled for my phone to text Luke. "This thing's killing me. Help." Before I could hit send, the bed creaked. Jayden's voice, rough with sleep, cut through the dark. "Caleb? What's wrong?" I froze, clutching the sheets. "Nothing. Just bad dream." He sat up, his silhouette sharp against the moonlight. "A dream doesn't make you sound like that. Were you fighting again?" "Fighting?" I laughed, high and nervous. "What, like in my sleep?" "I'm not that talented." His eyes glinted, narrowing. "You're hiding something. You've been off since the bar." I shifted, trying to keep my back to him, but the movement sent a fresh wave of pain through my chest. I hissed, and Jayden's hand was on my shoulder, turning me before I could protest. His gaze dropped to my chest, where my loose shirt had slipped, revealing the red, swollen skin around the piercing. "Caleb," he said, his voice dangerously low. "What the hell is that?" I yanked the shirt closed, heart racing. "Nothing. Just a rash. Allergies. Sensitive Omega skin." He didn't buy it. His hand hovered, like he wanted to check for himself. But then he pulled back, his expression unreadable. "Go to sleep," he said finally, turning away. "We'll talk tomorrow." I lay there, pulse hammering, the tongue stud clicking nervously. He'd seen too much and I'd pushed too far. But the weirdest part? For a second, when he'd touched me, I'd felt something. His scent, stronger than usual, almost possessive. It was gone as fast as it came, but it left me rattled. Jayden wasn't supposed to react like that. He was supposed to stay cold, distant, easy to leave. I stared at the ceiling, plotting my next move. If Jayden was starting to notice me, I'd have to up my game. Tomorrow I'd hit him where it hurt, his wallet. A shiny new necklace, maybe, to fund my grand escape. If he thought he could control me, he was about to learn how wrong he was. Chapter 4. Office Games and Painful Truths. I strutted into Jayden's office like I owned the place, a glossy magazine photo of a sapphire necklace clutched in my hand. The plan was simple: charm him, get the cash, and build my escape fund. Divorce was on the horizon, and I needed every penny to vanish before my dad caught wind of my rebellion. Jayden sat behind his desk, all sharp suit and sharper focus, signing papers like he was born with a pen in his hand. I didn't knock. Why bother? And plopped right onto his lap, ignoring the startled glance from his assistant outside. "Hey, husband," I purred, dangling the photo in front of him. "Look at this beauty. I need it. Like, yesterday." Jayden didn't even look up, his pen scratching away. "Card's got enough for that, Caleb. Use it." I pouted, leaning closer, letting my scent, champagne and defiance, fill the air. But I want you to buy it. Special. For me. Your adorable Omega. I batted my lashes, playing up the act, knowing he hated distractions during work. He finally glanced at the photo, then at me, his dark eyes unreadable. That's a 5-carat sapphire. It's flashy. Dangerous to wear out. I scoffed, tossing my hair. Dangerous? Please. I'm not some delicate flower. Besides, you've bought me stuff before. What's one more? You're reckless, he said, his voice low, setting down his pen. I've let you get away with too much. Let me? I laughed, sharp and bitter. You barely notice me, Jayden. I could dye my hair green, and you just keep signing your stupid contracts. His jaw tightened, and he reached past me to lock the office door with a quiet click. My pulse jumped. What's that for? I asked, trying to sound casual. You want to play games? He said, leaning back, his gaze pinning me. Fine, let's play. Before I could respond, he tugged at my shirt collar, exposing the red, swollen skin around my piercing. I yelped, swatting his hand away, but he was faster, his fingers brushing the metal stud. Pain shot through me, sharp and electric, and I let out a mortifying squeak. Caleb, he said, his voice dangerously calm. What is this? I froze, my brain short-circuiting. Fashion? It's a statement piece. Very trendy. He didn't buy it. His fingers lingered, then slid to my jaw, tilting my face up. You've been hiding this. And what else? I squirmed, trying to slide off his lap, but he caught my waist, pulling me back until I was straddling him. My heart pounded, half from pain, half from the way his scent wrapped around me, all cedar and control. Nothing else. I lied, my tongue stud clicking nervously. Just a little self-expression. You should try it sometime. His eyes darkened, and he reached for his belt, unbuckling it with a slow, deliberate motion. My stomach dropped. Wait, what are you? Since you like pain so much, he said, looping the belt in his hand. Let's see how much you can handle. I laughed, high and panicked. Whoa, Jayden, let's not get kinky in the office. But he didn't smile, just snapped the belt lightly against my thigh. It didn't hurt much, but the sound made me jump, and the piercing throbbed in protest. I yelped again, louder this time, and he froze, his hand hovering. Caleb, he said, softer now, but still sharp. Open your mouth. My blood ran cold. The tongue stud, the tattoo. If he saw that flame inked on my tongue, a stupid, impulsive design I'd gotten thinking of him, he'd know I wasn't just rebelling. I was obsessed. No way, I said, clamping my lips shut. You're not my dentist. He leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. Now. I shook my head, but his fingers gripped my chin, gentle but firm, and I caved, sticking out my tongue just enough. His eyes locked on the tattoo, and for the first time, I saw his composure crack. His jaw clenched, his breath hitched. Caleb, he said, voice low and dangerous. This is my initial, isn't it? I yanked back, nearly falling off his lap. No, it's a flame. Totally random. You're not that special. He didn't move, just stared, and I felt like I was drowning in his gaze. You're lying, he said, and you're terrible at it. I scrambled off him, my face burning. You're one to talk. You've been spying on me, haven't you? How else did you know about the piercing? Admit it, Jayden, you've got people tailing me. His silence was answer enough. I grabbed my jacket, my chest throbbing, my pride stinging worse. You know what? I'm done. I hate you. Not cute, flirty hate, real hate. Don't talk to me. I stormed toward the door, but he was faster, blocking my path. Caleb, we're not done. Oh, we're done, I snapped, shoving past him. You want to play warden? Find another prisoner. I yanked the door open, slamming it behind me, the sound echoing down the hall. My heart was racing, my tongue stud clicking furiously. He'd seen too much and I'd said too much. The tattoo was my secret, my stupid, lovesick mistake, and now he knew. Worse, he cared enough to confront me, which messed with my head more than I wanted to admit. I needed out. Now, Luke would know how to help me disappear, and Jayden's money would make it happen. I pulled out my phone, texting Luke as I hit the elevator. Meet me at the bar. Time to run. Chapter 5. Jealousy and a Jarring Revelation. I slumped into the bar's corner booth, the familiar buzz of music and liquor doing little to calm my nerves. Luke slid in across from me, his grin as smug as ever, a backpack stuffed with fake IDs and cash on the table. My escape plan was in motion, funded by Jayden's credit card and my own stubbornness. After that office showdown, I was done playing the good Omega. Divorce was my ticket out, and Luke was my getaway driver. "You look like you just robbed a bank," Luke said, tossing me a beer. "Or pissed off your husband again." Spill. I took a swig, wincing as the cold liquid hit my tongue stud. Jayden found the piercing, and the tattoo. Freaked out, got all domineering with his stupid belt. I told him I hate him and stormed out. "So yeah, I'm ready to bolt. You got the plan." Luke leaned back, smirking. "Plane tickets, new phone, and a shady contact in a beach town far from here. You'll be sipping cocktails by tomorrow night. But, man, you sure about this? Jayden's not exactly the let-you-go type." "He doesn't care," I snapped, my chest tight. "Not just from the piercing. He's probably thrilled to get rid of me. I saw him with David tonight, all cozy, laughing like I don't exist." Luke's eyebrows shot up. "David? The racer guy? You think Jayden's stepping out?" I shrugged, staring into my beer. Why else would he be chummy with some perfect Omega? David's all soft and classy, total husband material. Not like me, the screw-up who gets piercings and picks fights. Luke snorted, leaning forward. "Caleb, you're jealous as hell. Admit it. You're not running because you hate him. You're running because you like him." "Shut up," I muttered, my face heating. "I don't care who he's with. I just want out." But my eyes betrayed me, flicking to the bar's entrance where Jayden and David were. Sure enough, chatting like old friends. David's hand brushed Jayden's arm, and my stomach twisted. I gripped my glass, willing myself to look away. Luke followed my gaze, whistling low. "Damn, they do look close. But you're not exactly subtle. Staring like you want to set them on fire." "I'm not staring," I lied, chugging the beer. The alcohol dulled the ache in my chest, but not the one in my heart. "Let's just finalize the plan. I'm done with this marriage." Luke pulled out a map, circling a coastal town. "Flight leaves tomorrow. I'll get you to the airport. But if Jayden's as controlling as you say, he's gonna notice you're gone." "Let him," I said, voice hard. "He can keep his perfect life and his perfect Omega. I'm not his problem anymore." I didn't get to finish. Jayden's shadow fell over the table, his cologne hitting me like a punch. "Caleb," he said, voice clipped. "We need to talk." I didn't look up. "I'm busy. Go back to your date." Luke choked on his drink, muffling a laugh. Jayden's jaw tightened, but he didn't correct me. "This isn't a date. David's a friend. You'd know that if you stopped assuming the worst." "Oh, please," I snapped, finally meeting his eyes. "You're all smiles with him, but with me it's lectures and cold shoulders. I'm done, Jayden. I want a divorce." His face didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "Hurt, maybe? If that's what you want," he said, voice low. "We'll talk tomorrow. Sober." He turned and walked back to David, leaving me fuming. Luke whistled again. "Damn, dude, you sure know how to burn bridges." "Shut up," I growled, grabbing another drink. But the image of Jayden and David, heads bent together, wouldn't leave me. I hated how much it stung. The next day, I hit a private clinic to stock up on suppressants for my upcoming heat. No way was I letting biology screw up my escape. But as I waited in the sterile hallway, David walked by, white coat on, stethoscope around his neck. Of course, he wasn't just some Omega, he was a doctor. Perfect. "Caleb," David said, spotting me. "Didn't expect to see you here." "Yeah, well, life's full of surprises," I muttered, clutching my prescription. "What, you and Jayden carpooling to work now?" He frowned, confused. "Jayden? He's not here. I just saw him last night for a consult." My stomach dropped. "Consult? For what?" David hesitated, then pulled a chart from his bag. "It's confidential, but it's not what you think. Jayden's got a condition. Ex-addiction. It's serious." I snatched the chart before he could stop me, my eyes scanning the words. Information overload, risk of collapse, Omega dependency. My heart pounded. "This is Jayden's? You're telling me he's sick?" David nodded, looking guilty. "I shouldn't have said anything, but you're his husband. He's been managing it alone, refusing to involve you." "Why?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "Why not tell me?" David sighed. He didn't want to burden you. Said you'd hate him more if you knew. I stared at the chart, my anger crumbling. Jayden wasn't cheating. He was hiding a disease, one that could kill him, and I'd been too busy rebelling to notice. I shoved the chart back at David and bolted for the door, my escape plan forgotten. I needed to find Luke. I needed to find Jayden. Most of all, I needed to figure out how I'd been so blind. Chapter 6. Running to you. I sat in the restaurant's private booth, leg bouncing under the table, my duffel bag stuffed with cash and fake IDs at my feet. Luke was late, and my nerves were shot. The plan was set. Catch a flight, disappear, and let Jayden deal with his perfect life and his perfect Omega doctor. But after seeing that chart, X-addiction, Omega dependency, my head was a mess. Was Jayden really sick? Or was it just another excuse to keep me at arm's length? I gripped my coffee, the tongue stud clicking against my teeth, a reminder of my rebellion gone wrong. The waiter approached, looking nervous. Mr. Caleb? There's a mix-up. Your reservation's under another name. A Mr. Jayden booked it, kept muttering about his Caleb and what you like to eat. Sounded off. My stomach lurched. Off how? The waiter shrugged, kept repeating himself. Seemed out of it. I shoved my chair back, heart racing. Cancel it. I'm leaving. Jayden wasn't supposed to care this much, not enough to book my favorite spot and ramble about me. It didn't add up. I grabbed my bag and bolted to Luke's booth, 2 doors down. Luke looked up from his phone, smirking. You look like you saw a ghost. What's up? Jayden's acting weird, I said, sliding in. Booked my reservation, talking about me like I'm his obsession. And that chart, David said he's sick. Like, dying sick. I don't know what to believe anymore. Luke raised an eyebrow, tossing me a burner phone. Sounds like a trap to keep you here. You still want out, right? Flight's in 6 hours. I nodded, but my grip on the phone was shaky. Yeah, but my dad's goons are probably on my tail. He's pissed about the divorce talk. We gotta move fast. As if on cue, heavy footsteps echoed outside the booth. I peeked through the curtain and saw 2 of my dad's enforcers, their alpha sense thick and menacing. Shit, I hissed. They're here. Luke grabbed his bag. Back door. Now. We bolted, weaving through the kitchen, my heart pounding as I shoved through the exit into an alley. I was halfway to a cab when a familiar voice stopped me cold. Caleb, don't run. I turned, and there was David, his white coat swapped for a leather jacket, eyes wide with panic. What the hell, David? I snapped. You stalking me now? He grabbed my arm, breathless. It's Jayden. He's in trouble. Information overload, he's in a lockdown ward, losing it. You're his Omega. He needs you or he could die. My blood froze. Die? You're lying. He's built like a tank. No way he's... It's real. David cut in, voice urgent. His X-addiction's out of control. Your pheromones are the only thing keeping him stable. Please, Caleb. I stared at him, Luke hovering behind me, ready to bolt. Go, Luke said. I'll cover you. But if this is a trick, I'm kicking both their asses. I didn't think. I just ran, following David to his car. The hospital was a blur of white walls and antiseptic. David led me to a sealed ward, monitors buzzing, nurses whispering. Through a window I saw Jayden, chained to a bed, a bite guard on his face, eyes wild and empty. My stomach twisted. This wasn't my cold, controlled Jayden. This was a man falling apart. David handed me a keycard. You're his match. Your scent can calm him. Press the red button if it goes wrong. We'll be watching. I nodded, stepping into the sealed room. The air was thick with Jayden's scent. Smoke and cedar, raw and desperate. I released a trickle of my champagne pheromones, heart hammering as I approached. He thrashed against the chains, growling through the guard. Get out! He snarled, voice barely human. I yanked off the bite guard, my hands shaking. Jayden, it's me. Caleb. You're not dying on me, you hear? His eyes locked on mine, red and feral, but something flickered. Recognition. Caleb, you'll hate me. Scared you before. My chest tightened. Flashes hit me. My first heat, Jayden trying to help, me freaking out, throwing things, screaming I was scared. He'd backed off ever since, keeping his distance. I was an idiot, I said, undoing his chains. Not scared anymore. Let me help you. I leaned closer, my scent flooding the room. His hands found my waist, trembling but strong, and I mouthed, "Cut the feed," to the cameras. The monitors went dark, and Jayden pulled me down, his control shattering. It was messy, desperate, and I didn't care. He needed me, and for once I wasn't running. Days blurred. When I woke, groggy and sore, David was there, looking exhausted. 5 days, he said. He's stable. But he left. Signed divorce papers. My heart stopped. What? Where is he? David hesitated. Airport. Flight in 30 minutes. I didn't think. I grabbed my shoes, still in hospital scrubs, and sprinted outside, hot-wiring a motorcycle from the lot. My dad's voice echoed in my head, "You're too young, too reckless," but I didn't care. I sped to the airport, weaving through traffic, my pulse roaring. Inside, I scanned the crowd, dialing Jayden's number over and over. No answer. The final boarding call for his flight blared. I sank to the floor, helmet in my lap, tears streaming. "Jayden, you asshole," I sobbed. "You don't get to leave me." "Caleb," his voice, low and real, cut through my sobs. I looked up, and there he was, luggage in hand, staring like I was a ghost. I threw myself at him, knocking him to the ground, clinging like a kid. "Don't go," I choked out. "I don't want a divorce. I love you, you idiot." He caught me, his arms steady. "Flights canceled. Business thing. I wasn't leaving you." He wiped my tears, his voice soft. "I signed those papers to protect you. My condition. I didn't want to hurt you. You hurt me by hiding it," I said, punching his chest weakly. "No more secrets. We fix this together." He nodded, pulling me close. "Together. And I'm quitting smoking. For you." I laughed through my tears, kissing him hard. Behind us, my dad's voice boomed. "Caleb, what the hell?" He stormed over, my mom trailing, looking ready to throttle Jayden. I groaned, but Jayden just held me tighter, promising to face them with me. I believed we'd make it.